I should probably say something, right? Got a dark screen. Anyway, this live stream may or may not be for you, but consider this. It's the message. I was speaking to an old timer a while back. Thank you for the person that came through the two thumbs up. I was speaking to an old timer a while back, and I was asking about, like content and, media and, like how people talk to each other and whatnot. And the old timer was telling me, he said, something you got to understand. It's the message. And I'm like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. This person's talking about what you mean the message. And what they told me is that sometimes it's really what you're saying first. Before you can get into, the delivery, how you say and what you say, when you say, who you say it to. It's really about, what is the content, what is the context of what you're saying, what is the purpose, what is the point, what is the relevance of what you're saying. A lot of people say things and do things and put stuff out there, but don't understand their own relevance or the relevance of what they're saying or what they're doing, i.e., a lot of disposable content. And this is not just something for small YouTubers or, people who are not famous, on, social media platforms. This is a big deal. This is for people who are famous, who have money, who have clout. This is people who have released books. These are people who have degrees, doctorates, who have taught classes, who have put out seminars, DVDs, who have, movies, documentaries. Sometimes we miss the point about what we're saying. How does it relate? How does it affect the person that's listening? Why should it matter? Why should you care? Even with this live stream, why should you care about this live stream? You don't have to. I mean, but I'm just highlighting something about when people do things. If you have a dream, a goal, or something that you're trying to entertain somebody with, what is the message? It's the message. It's really more about what you're saying. And then once you get into what you're saying, then you can get into the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, or whatever the case may be. A lot of times we do things, or we go out there and we say things, and we're not really cognizant or realizing what we're saying, how it's affecting people. There's things that you say in particular moments in time, like if I'm talking about inequality or inclusion, that would make more sense in this month because hey, it's Pride Month. So obviously people could identify with issues of inclusion, discrimination, just not fitting in, and just prejudices and all kind of stuff. So you understand the moment that you're in. And these are conversations that I've been having for many years, and I think a lot of people don't understand the moment that they're in. They don't understand the time that they're moving in. Especially technologically. Just the age, the social media age that we're in, how everything is so interconnected and whatnot. How many people can share ideas and really, you know, um, you know, interact with each other. I can interact with somebody in seconds, in minutes from across over on the UK or Australia or Africa, India. When in the past that would have taken me, many weeks, months, maybe a year, depending on the era, just to, get a communique over there, just to get a telegram or something like that. So, times have changed. Things move faster. People share ideas. Local stories in the UK or the south of France can actually become an international issue. Something in Brooklyn or the South Bronx and New York can easily catch the eye of somebody in India, Africa, Asia somewhere. So it's about the message. What are you saying? And I say that to anybody. This applies to any and everybody on this live stream now. If you put out any content, if you have a voice, if you have something that you're trying to say, what are you saying to people? Do you understand the words that are coming out of your mouth? Not to quote Rush Hour, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? But the reason I say this is because a lot of people get lost on their messaging. When your messaging is not correct, I don't care what you have in the background. I don't care how sexy you are. I don't care how many followers you have. I don't care how much celebrity you got. If you're not saying anything, if you're not really connecting with people, folks will come by for a while. And I can call out big celebrities right now that are on this platform, who have nice content and they're very, entertaining in a lot of ways. But then you look, beneath the surface of what they're saying, and you start to find substance, or you try to find substance, and it's lacking, and you realize, oh wow, that person is rich, that person is famous, that person has great edited content, but they're not saying anything. And then you go to somebody who's a small YouTuber or a mid-sized YouTuber, somebody who's a virtual unknown outside of the realm of YouTube or whatever the case may be, and they're in their content, their messaging is 10 times more impactful than somebody who's backed by a major motion picture studio, or has millions of followers, or has tons of money in the bank, or a beautiful, wife and children, or whatever the case may be. Not taking any shots at anybody, but it's about the messaging. What are you saying with the platform that you have? What are you saying with the audience that you're speaking to? Even for me, sometimes I'm hit and miss. Sometimes I'm really on point. I'm really on key. With what I'm saying. Sometimes I just totally miss the mark. But that's being realistic with myself, looking in the mirror or looking at the screen and honestly self-effacing. Why is this all important? Why is this important to you? Let me answer this question for those people that are watching this live stream. This is important to you because people have things that they want to convey. You folks out there have things that you want to convey. I'm talking to each and every one of you, even the people that watch this in the replay, gang, gang, gang. You have ideas, hopes, dreams, and things that you want to communicate with other people. Now it makes sense that you would say things that people would want to talk about. It would make sense that you would say things that people were interested in discussing. And a lot of times people may do it, just to do it. It's like I was talking to somebody, today, and we were talking about, a person. We're gonna say like a person, or he talked to me about a person, and the person he was saying, sometimes just speaks to speak, and there's no knock towards that person. I try to defend the person or whatever the case, not to get too deep into who was saying what, but sometimes people just get out there and they just upload content to upload content, or people just put things out there because they have an audience. And just doing things just because you have an audience sometimes is to your detriment, because while people may be entertained or engaged with you for the minute, what did you leave them with? What did you educate them on? What did you make them think about? What did you question? Like the old timer was telling me, they said the job of an artist, or somebody who's a personality or has a platform, or even a poet or something like that. The job of that person is to question. It's not just to reflect, but to question. You can reflect what's going on in society, but our jobs a lot of times are to question, to argue, to explore. In a sense, also to reflect in what we see. But what's the point? It's just like with me having this YouTube page. I may never make a dime off this page, but the question is, what am I doing with this page? What am I reflecting? Am I making you think? Am I making you laugh? Am I making you cry? Am I making you hate me? What is it? Is it relevant for you to be here? I mean, and in certain times I say yes, other times I say no. It depends on what I'm saying. I had to learn that it is about the messaging. Some live streams hit more than others. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason certain messages resonate with people more than others do. There's plenty of things that I can talk about, but sometimes you have to build up the strength. You have to build up the courage to be willing to jump in the water and give your own opinion, not, oh, okay, what somebody else said. This is what I said. This is how I feel about it. This is what I want to convey. And sometimes that's a difficult thing, because who wants to stand out there alone and say I have an opinion on something, or I have a thought or idea, or this is my truth. A lot of people don't want to do that. So I get that. You have to build up courage to be willing to come with the right messaging and stand out there and just either be worshipped or vilified for whatever it is, and deal with it as it needs to be dealt with. One of my favorite commercials is the Apple commercial with "Here's to the crazy ones, the round pegs in the square hole, the troublemakers." They're not fond of rules. And you know that commercial. Just hashtag, or Google, Apple commercial, think different. It's a think different commercial. And in that commercial, it just talks about different people who believe that they had the wherewithal or the fortitude to change the world and do something significant. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we shouldn't entertain on here. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do what we do. I mean, but in the entertaining, in the laughing, in the joking, in the uploading of content, in trying to impress each other or one-upmanship of each other's content. What are you doing with this thing? I mean, I want to say that I spoke on relevant things. I want to say, hey, sometimes I said some things that were irrelevant, but for the most part, I would like to have engaging conversations with the average person, with the high and mighty. Who knows? I feel like I'm the type of person that can talk to anybody. But with all that being said, what are you saying? I mean, and it's in your messaging. People will flock to you or flee from you based on your messaging, based on what you're saying. People care about what you're saying out of your mouth. And if you're not saying something engaging, if you're not saying something interesting, if you're not saying something funny, something exciting, something that's useful to people, then they won't listen. They won't pay attention. If they, even here now, me speaking to you, if this wasn't useful to you in some way, I think you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't care. It's no obligation. I can't stop any one of you from leaving this chat right now. I have no power to stop any one of you from leaving this chat right now. But however, it's the messaging, it's the engagement. And as you work on your messaging and understand what you're saying has impact and power, then you start to get into the delivery and your production and promotion, and maybe you can formalize some things and really, get your own and gather your feed and stuff like that. So those are things that happen. It takes time, but first is about focusing on what you want to say. And I think a lot of people on this platform, on other platforms, don't understand what they want to say. They know they want to say something, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to say something. But in your free time, your spare time, if you got to look in the mirror, if you got to write stuff down, if you got to speak to a spouse, if you got to speak to a friend, if you got to sit in a corner with candles and talk to yourself, or look up and talk to God, or whatever you have to do, you know, you find out what your messaging is. You find out what the content and the context of what you're here for. For me, it's about having, engaging conversations, but also finding the truth in all things. If it had to be my one word, one reason, one thing that I'm looking for in life is the truth. I've been lied to so many times. I could easily spin a lie for you. But what's true about life? What is the realness? What I'm saying? What is the hardcore, the uncut, truth of things? That's what I look for in my content. That's what I look for in all that I do. Even if I'm just telling a joke or whatever the case may be, is it a true depiction of what, a person could be, a big bad booty daddy or brother Mel or, some corrupt preacher, I don't know, whatever character I'm playing. The reason I take the time to say all this is because maybe this could be helpful to you. Taking the time out to understand what matters to you and what may matter to other people, understanding and knowing your audience may be very helpful to you, because so many people struggle. Thank you here. Um, I was doing some buffering, reconnecting, had to take off my Wi-Fi. Maybe it's a lot of people online right now. I don't know. I don't profess to know, but I am paying for the Wi-Fi. So that's just what that is. Thank you for the people that are still here with me, that are still rocking out. Trust me, this live stream is important. Trust me, this live stream is important. If this is one of those this is more or less one of those live streams that will definitely benefit you if you go back and you listen to what I'm saying in the beginning, because this relates to you. Understand the direction that your channel is on. Understand the direction that you're going in with your content on any platform, be it Facebook, be it Instagram, be it Twitter, be it Snapchat if you still use that, whatever. I don't even know if you're still on Google Plus. To be aimed in the direction is more important than to be aimless. But all those that wander are not aimless. There's nothing wrong with like being out in the desert. I think as Lynn Denton was saying the other night, she was in the vastness somewhere in the desert, out in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of nowhere, you can find yourself. In a moment of inspirational insanity, you can find yourself. Maybe I'm sounding more philosophical tonight than anything. I haven't seen anybody in the comments. I don't know if you can comment, but folks are listening. So maybe this is just one of those things that you just listen to. I don't know. I didn't disable the comments, but thank you for being here. Thank you for the 9 thumbs up. I appreciate that. You know, I say this because sometimes people don't think about it, and this is something I didn't think about. I didn't think about how important it is. Like anybody that went to school, I don't know if you remember when you went to school. For some of us that went to, like I guess primary school, elementary school, high school, whatever. You ever go to the class and the teacher, writes on the board the aim, the aim, or today's subject matter, like, this is the to do, or this is the goals, or whatever. So when you go into the class, you know exactly what you're talking about. You know exactly the subject matter. Just like even when you look at your video, it's look at it in that way. When you put out a video, understand that your titles are important because it tells people what you're talking about. It gives people an idea of where you're coming from, where you're going, where you could go. And that's a real big deal. Sometimes people have complimented me on my titles and stuff like that, and drawing people in and whatnot. Just with the title. Sometimes the title alone can draw people in, and I know this, for fact. And that's something that you just work on. You understand the message, and you understand things that people want to talk about. Like, I could talk about Trump, I could talk about immigration, I could talk about the LGBT community, I could talk about Black Lives Matter, I could talk about a whole host of things that are important to people, because people live life. It's not hard to find something to talk about. It's not hard to find something to put content out there about. But the question is, what do you want to talk about? And what do you want to engage people with? How controversial do you want to be? How sensitive do you want to be? How open-minded do you want to be in your conversation? These are just questions you can ask yourself. How much of it do you want to just keep PG? How much of it do you want to just have no strings attached? How much of it you want to say, what, I don't want to be inspirational. I just want to be funny. I just want to uplift people, in a way, or just lift people's spirits in a way where I make them laugh and joke. Who do you want to be? What do you want to be? What do you want to say? Who are you trying to reach? And then also, too, there's the matter of respect. Once you have your audience and you have them in the grass and the palm of your hand and whatnot, you want to respect the fact that people are coming to see you, they're coming to hear you, coming to listen to you. Just like I respect the fact that all of you folks are here for whatever reason. Like I said, I mean, it's a big deal, and I appreciate that. It takes time to develop and grow and become whoever you need to be. Especially on this platform. Dealing with different people from various walks of life. With different sensibilities. Different likes and dislikes, or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, if you care, about who you're talking to, you want to be, aware to let them know what you're talking about, to not make things so vague. And the reason I say this is because I was one of the masters at that. I was one of the kings at being vague and evasive and not clear and speaking in riddles and stuff like that. Maybe it's the poetry side of me and whatnot. And sometimes you just have to say it plainly. You speak plainly to people. You let people know where you're coming from. You let people know what your content is, and you let people know what your content isn't. My content is not the most fun and engaging content that you'll ever see. I'm not gonna have strippers and women and drugs and all kind of stunts and gags and pranks on my channel. But I'm not saying I wouldn't do it from time to time. Drugs and women not included. But my thing is just saying, hey, I try to be engaging in the ways that I'm engaging, through my words, through my conversation, through some of my artistry that I may do on here. And that's what works for me. I tell you, find what works for you. Find what the messaging is for you, for your channel, for your particular situation. And I'm surprised nobody's commented already. I don't know. Hopefully my comments are not disabled. Can anybody tell me if my comments are disabled? I mean, I don't know if anybody's trying to chat or whatever the case may be. If you're not, then it's all good too. So forgive me if you can't chat in this chat room, but I still see 7 people watching, and I see 9 thumbs up. So maybe, I don't know, maybe this chat is so engaging that nobody wants to talk, nobody wants to speak. But I guess you see where I'm coming from. You know what it is. Um, I don't know how long do I go with this conversation. I don't think I need to go too long with the conversation, but I think you get where I'm coming from. It's about what you say, then how you say what you're saying, to who you're saying, when you say it, understanding that there's a time and a season for everything, knowing your pacing, understanding, the capabilities of what you have. Sometimes all you have is a cell phone, a smartphone, whatever, and just a little video app. You make that work. Maybe not the highest, rate cell phone or whatever the case may be. Maybe you got an LG or a Huawei or whatever. You make best what you make worth with that. So, that's how that goes. It works like that. Nothing to be ashamed of. And it's just interesting. It's just interesting. So I just tell people, pay attention to what you're saying. Respect your audience. Know that there's people out there, that really want to hear what you have to say. Just take the time out to learn what people want to talk about. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. Definitely nothing wrong with that. And on that note, I think I'll be out. because I don't want to really prolong this and extend this out just to extend it, you know. Yeah. So as always, spread love. It's the Brooklyn way. And for dramatic effect, of course, gotta cut out the light. Thank you for watching. Surprised nobody commented in the live stream. I gotta check that out. Oh well.